Hi, my name is Giovanna, and I affirm this evidence is of my own authorship. I have not appealed to plagiarism in any of its forms, and I establish that in preparing and developing this activity, I have followed the guidelines from Tecnológico de Monterrey Code of Ethics. In the face of the environmental crisis, companies are increasingly launching campaigns that appear to address sustainability. However, many of these campaigns are questionable and manipulative. The perfect example is Ryanair, Europe's largest low-cost airline. In 2019, they launched a campaign claiming they are Europe's lowest emissions airline. But behind this claim lies a strategy of greenwashing, false action, and selectivism. This case is relevant because it shows how corporations can manipulate discourse to shape public perception and delay real climate action. What about this campaign? This campaign is called Europe's Lowest Emission Airline, which is, of course, completely fake. The media they used to spread this campaign advertising was digital ads, posters, website banners, in-flight materials. Their target were the eco-conscious travelers and the general public because of course they would think this airline is better because it has lower emissions. This message framing was that Ryanair claims low CO2 per passenger per kilometer, and the actions proposed in this campaign were mainly to pay optional carbon offset fees during booking and also to trust Ryanair's efficiency as a green choice. So, you've seen the video already, so why would this be greenwashing? The real reason is of the misleading claims. Their emission are low per passenger just because of their high density flights, not because their airline is environmental friendly. The UK's Advertising Standards Authority banned the campaign as misleading. The carbon offset is optional and symbolic, and it's not the true operational change. Also, the claiming to lead in sustainability without transitioning to clean energy, changing routes or reducing flights is just false action. So, how does this campaign from Ryanair relate directly to the SDGs? Mainly, this Ryanair campaign relates to the SDG number 13 because of the climate action. It is undermining efforts by distracting real emissions. So basically, they're not making a real action, they're just doing this greenwash strategy, making the consumer believe that they are actually doing something while they're not. There's also the relationship, this link with the SDG number 12, which is about the responsible consumption. And it's mainly because it misleads the consumer decisions. The consumer, if they're real eco-friendly conscious, they would believe that this Ryanair airplane is the best option they get. Well, it's actually not, and they could also use the SDG 17 by partnership and get help from government or activists or different climate organizations to actually make a real change, to make a real positive action, to make a real impact. So this campaign is just affecting the SDGs 13, 12, 17 by greenwashing their consumers. So, moving on to the discourse analysis, this campaign's context and intention is to boost brand image and increase the consumer retention, mainly with eco-friendly consumers. This ideology is basically a corporate-led environmentalism, which means the idea that you can save the planet by just choosing Ryanair as your flying option. So this is a manipulative campaign because of these different fallacies. It involves like the cherry-picking fallacy, which is basically the selective data that has overall impact. This false cost fallacy, which is implying that flying Ryanair equals environmental action, which is actually not true. And also this emotional appeal with the green visuals and the nature scenes that manipulate people by thinking they're taking care of the earth, making a real action, significant change, and they're actually not doing it. It does not address the core issue, which is this aviation emissions, and there are no real transition plans, there are no emission caps. The proposed action is completely irrelevant because it's not something they're doing. Their emissions are that way just because of the high density of passengers they have per flight. That's it. And respecting to the social media reaction, we have different mixed reactions. Some users applaud the offset option, others called it nonsense greenwashing. A lot of the changes and the reactions about this post and this campaign in general are no real pressure or not real people saying it's activism, but they should, like, this campaign is missing the transparency, the actual emissions. There are no accountability for the reports just to, well, ban the campaign. There's no real investment in different sustainable fuel or different actions to improve this current conditions that are happening right now. If they really wanted to make an impact, they'd partner with climate scientists to push for policy change, invest in cleaner technology. However, they're not doing this. And well, how is the media reacting to this? The media is saying in a lot of different positions, a lot of controversial positions about this. There's BBC saying that this is misleading ad that should be banned. There's also TNE saying that Ryanair is actually the Europe's top polluter. And well, yeah, this contrast reveals how the media power can use to challenge and corporate greenwashing and stop it. Stop this greenwashing, stop this selectivism in general to make a real change. So, what should they do? What should be a real campaign? What could be an improved campaign? Basically, just a real sustainability campaign by Ryanair should eliminate misleading claims, be co-created with scientists or policymakers. They should commit to transition timelines, set real times and real goals that are not misleading or using words in a way that it changed what it means. They should, of course, include an annual environmental impact report, or maybe launch a transparency program where citizens can track their progress and see these real emission numbers, but the real ones, the real impact. All of the stakeholders involved deserve responsibility for this. All of the citizens should pressure the campaigns, the companies should invest in meaningful change, the government should regulate these greenwashing claims more, the media should report this kind of claims and expose false narratives. This is merely an invitation to society to join this new progress and stop in general the greenwashing. So what did I learn with this activity? I would say the three top things I learned with this activity is how to analyze properly when a company is doing greenwashing by misleading the consumer and using like those keywords to change the actual meaning. Also that these misleading campaigns can be legally banned, and also maybe that a company, an airline, can be a top leader in Europe, which I didn't think it was possible. I thought it would be, I don't know, like the fashion industry maybe. Two things I want to learn more about is how can the companies realistically achieve some emission reduction. And I would also like to learn how to build these campaigns. As I'm a student business, I would love to do a real change and of course monetize it. So yeah, I will learn how to apply these green campaigns without doing greenwashing. And well, yeah, one thing I would change myself in my life, like in the rest of my life, is as a consumer. Because even if I'm not in the future in the business area for any reason, I'm always a consumer in a daily basis. So yes, I would not be so easily misled about the products I consume. And well, yeah, that's the key takeaway from this. Thank you.